This is one of two quick hits for Chapter 9. Chapter 9 gets into interpersonal relationships. So you'll have two quick hits here, and this is the first of two. I wanted to start off this quick hit by looking at these two quotations by Adele. I think many of you listening have heard of Adele, and you might even like her, might be one of your favorite singers. But one of the first quotations she stated is, "You cannot convince someone to love you." And I had to come to terms with the fact that I'd met the love of my life, but it was just bad timing. I think both of these quotations apply to this chapter as well as the final two chapters of this class, and you'll see what I mean as you're reading throughout this chapter. So this first quick hit's going to go over the stages of relationship development. This is not in your textbook. Your textbook gives different stages. You can go by either one. I will tell you though, on the final exam alludes to these stages of relationship development. The one I'm about to give you now, not the one in your textbook, so you want to be aware of that. First things first, there are 5 stages of relationship development and 5 stages of relationship deterioration. These stages were founded by Dr. Mark Knapp, who teaches interpersonal communication at UT. The first stage is the initiating stage. I want you to think of us going up a mountain. Okay, so the first stage is the initiating stage. We're at the bottom or the base of the mountain. The initiating stage, there's high anxiety because it's the beginning of the relationship. We don't know where this relationship is headed. You don't know where it's going. And people typically monitor other people's verbals and nonverbals. Are they giving me eye contact? Are we on our first date and they're on the phone the entire time? Has it been a certain amount of time and they're responding to my text messages or my phone calls? You're just kind of monitoring those verbals and nonverbals to give signals, to give you signs to indicate the possibility of where this relationship is headed. The second stage is the experimenting stage. This is where low-risk topics come into play. And we've heard this phrase before, low-risk topics, from the quick hit for Chapter 8. Remember, in this situation, low-risk topics, stuff that you can discuss that will not get you into trouble. When you talk about the experimenting stage, it's one stage above initiating, so you know this particular person, but now we're trying to see where this is going, which is why Dr. Knapp argues that most relationships we come into contact with in our lifetime tend to stop in this stage. Think about what an acquaintance is. An acquaintance is somebody different than a very best friend, a very good buddy. Acquaintances, somebody that we know, but we don't know a lot about them. I often equate acquaintances to people on Facebook or social media. We might know people that we add to Facebook, but we don't really know the ins and outs of that particular person. So that's why Dr. Knapp argues you'll develop a lot of acquaintances over the course of a lifetime. And yes, you can equate that phrase, acquaintance and friend. I'm totally cool with that. But most relationships we come across just kind of stay in this area. If you're ever so lucky to advance out of the experimenting stage, you'll get to the intensifying stage. This is where we start to see communication depth and breadth increase, meaning depth, how deep we go into conversation, breadth, the scope, the amount of topics that we are able to cover. You start to see improved care. Dr. Knapp, in his research, noted that improved care was in this stage. And when I say improved care, think about it almost in the most shallowest ideas. When he said improved care, what he saw was people in this stage started to look good. They would dress up a bit more. Women would wear makeup and get dressed up a little bit more. Guys would probably take showers and just be a little bit more dressy. And the argument he made is the reason we're dressing up or the reason we gotta look good is so that we still look attractive to the person that we're in a relationship with. The minute we let down and don't look as attractive anymore, we could either revert back to the stages below this, or worse, the relationship could end. In this stage, Dr. Knapp in his research noticed that touch increases and you start setting meeting times. Touch increases, meaning we're holding hands, maybe kissing a little bit more, maybe kissing in public a little bit more, setting meeting times. Beforehand, you would just say, hey, let's go out next week. If you're in this stage, it's probably a little bit more specific. Hey, let's go out on Tuesday, 7:30, and we're going to eat at Papado's, something along those lines. You would be a little bit more specific here. And one thing you need to be aware of is intimacy trophies. You'll see this again for sure. An intimacy trophy is something that you give your significant other just to let them know, hey, I was thinking about you. This could be flowers, this could be candy, this could be a text message, this could be a gift of some sort, but it just lets the other person know, I'm over here thinking about you, so I thought I would get you something. The fourth stage of relationship development is the integrating stage, and it's just like it sounds. We are integrating, coming in as one. In this stage, you're probably known as a social unit. You're just known as one particular unit instead of person A and person B in the relationship. You'll start to see the merging of social circles in this stage, meaning that your friends are now their friends and their friends are now your friends. And think about this for a little bit. It might be difficult to terminate the relationship or difficulties here because you now think of their friends as your friends and vice versa. So it's kind of hard for you all to maybe after terminating, understanding which friends or group of friends we should be hanging out with. Dr. Nav noticed when you're in the integrating stage, you start to adapt the characteristics of your partner. Maybe you didn't like a certain sport until you met your partner. Because your partner likes a certain sport, now you like that sport as well. Maybe you start to say words or phrases that your partner says all the time. And this is just one of those things where you just find yourselves doing. And sometimes we latch on to these words or phrases of our partner, or we start to go to these events and like these things that our partner likes solely because we want to be with our partner and we want to like some of the things that they like themselves. And singular pronouns now become plural. So instead of you and I, it's now we and us. Think about it like this. Beforehand, your friend would say, are you coming to the party? Now they say, are y'all coming? And you just instinctively reply, yes, we'll be there. Okay, we meaning that social unit, the couple. And then finally, the very top, the very zenith, the apex of the mountain is the bonding stage. You do this with a public statement of commitment, such as marriage, could be moving in together, could be signing some sort of lease together, could be an engagement ring, things of that nature. But now termination becomes a bit difficult when you're in this stage. Think about cultural rules and things of that nature. Could be difficult to terminate because finances, because of children, some people's culture or religion doesn't allow them to terminate once they get married, or they're looked down upon once they want to terminate the relationship. Not only that, think about it like this. Maybe you just had your parents shell out $70,000, $80,000 for a wedding, and now a month later you want to get a divorce. For some people, that's a bit difficult. But sometimes it ends up happening. We start to go down the mountain, and going down the dark side of the mountain is not the best method. The first stage of the relationship deterioration, knowing that your relationship is deteriorating, is the differentiating stage. This is where we start to see negative self-disclosure given off by you or the person you're in a relationship with. And this is just small stuff that that beforehand probably didn't bother you, but now it annoys you. Something's causing you to want to disclose this negative self-disclosure. There's no touch, some hostile expression. And if you've ever given the silent treatment, that's starting the differentiating stage. The silent treatment signals that there's some sort of conflict here. And when you give the silent treatment, you're not allowing for communication to occur. That's part of this relationship isn't where we want it to be. That could be start of the differentiating stage. The second stage of the relationship deterioration is circumscribing. Circumscribing sounds like circumvent from math class. Circumvent means to go around. So if we're in this stage, we're not talking about certain subjects or certain topics. And the reason we're not doing that is because it's going to lead into a fight or lead into conflict. And think about it like this. If there's certain topics or certain subjects that you can't discuss, do you really have a truly healthy relationship? Not only that, you'll notice if you're in the circumscribing stage, there's less intimacy in this stage, less intimacy between you and your partner, but a third party could come in at this point to help you reconnect. When I say a third party, think about a relationship counselor, think about maybe a pastor or a preacher, think about some sort of professional. Students always say, Mr. Sean, can it be a friend? And my response is, yes and no. You don't want to get a friend to help you reconnect unless that friend is a mutual friend between you both that you met at the same time. If the friend was the friend of person A in the relationship first, they could most likely side with person A, even if they're friends with both of you. So if it's a friend that's going to help you reconnect, make sure they're a mutual friend that you both met around the same time so that they don't have any biases or they don't hold any sort of judgments between one person or the other. The third stage for relationship deterioration is the stagnating stage. Here, you're not seeing enthusiasm between the couples. They probably get their needs met by other people. And when I say needs, we can break this down. Yes, the first area of need could be that just straight up of sex. They could be getting sex from other people, but needs could also be intimate needs such as affection, such as love, such as care. And who could they be getting affection, love, and care from? That could be friends, that could be relatives, that could be nieces and nephews, that could be coworkers, that could be anybody other than their partner that they're in a relationship with. But one of the things that's interesting is Dr. Knapp argues that some couples can get here and just stay here forever. Why could they stay here forever? Maybe they don't want to get divorced because it's too messy to get divorced. Maybe they have children. And think about it. They're getting what they need from other places. So why not reap the benefits of having a partner that you split stuff with or that you go half and half on certain things like the mortgage and taking care of the kids and then be happy in the fact that you're getting your needs from other places. Some people don't realize they're in the stagnating stage until it's too late. So they say, why would we get a divorce when we've been together for 20, 30 years? So be aware of the stagnating stage, because if you feel your relationship stagnant, you might just stay there forever and not do anything to either remedy the situation or to terminate the relationship. The fourth and fifth stage. The fourth stage is the avoiding stage, and I put it together with the terminating stage. This is at the very bottom of the dark side of the mountain. If you're in the avoiding stage, you're not really talking to your partner, you're limiting your communication. They're probably, if you have to talk to them, it's either via text or via email, and your answers are short and curt. You don't want to discuss anything with them except just answer the question that they need answering. And if you do have to talk to them, you're talking to them in a very short time span in a face-to-face format and probably not even giving them eye contact. But what Dr. Knapp argues is if you get to the avoiding stage, it's only a matter of time before you're headed to terminating. It's just when. When is it going to happen? The terminating stage, this is where you're breaking off the relationship. You get some sort of leave-taking statement, meaning you're giving some sort of statement explaining what went wrong, what happened, maybe how you feel, and that could be hostile or sad. Think about it. You could be hostile because the other person didn't want to work on whatever they needed to work on to make this relationship work. You could be hostile or sad because you were told all you need to do in the relationship is XYZ. You adjust and you do XYZ, and that other person still breaks up with you. You could be hostile or sad because just the other day, people were looking at you and your significant other saying, that is the most badass couple I have ever seen. I wish we were more like them. And then 24 hours later, you guys are terminating. And then we have this concept of called grave dressing. Essentially with grave dressing after a breakup, and I want you to think about this to see if you've ever done this or if you've ever experienced this. With grave dressing, person A and person B have terminated the relationship. Person A goes off to their family and their friends, and they explain what happened in the relationship and why the relationship was terminated. Person B goes off to their family and friends, and they do the exact same thing. What are the chances that person A's story and person B's story match up? More often than I'd say about 99% of the time, that's not the case. Typically, person A blames person B and person B blames person A. So when we talk about grave dressing, you're essentially making yourself go back to affinity-seeking strategies, go back to being liked, go back to everything that we've discussed in chapter 3 dealing with perception. Sometimes we build up this idea that we were the strong person in the relationship, and the reason the relationship failed was because of the fault of the other person. But you have to keep in mind, they're doing the exact same thing about you. So this first quick hit was designed to get you into this chapter, talking about the stages of relationship development and deterioration. If there are any questions, put it on the message board, send me an email, and I will answer as quick as possible. And then be sure you listen to quick hit number 2 dealing with this chapter, and you'll just listen to quick hit number 2.